Hello and welcome back to my studio, where today I want to show you some tips, techniques and tools I used for this bald eagle. I just started using a portable drafting table to create on and find it's a little easier on the back and neck. And I also use a metal sheet with magnets to hold down my work instead of masking tape, and it's easier to move the image around while you work, and it means you don't have to risk any tape ripping your paper and ruining your work. I'm working with Panpastels for my underlayers. Mixing colours is really easy to get the exact shades. You can use the soft tools made by Panpastel, or you can just use eyeshadow applicators. I buy mine in the larger packets and I clean them off on a paper towel between colour changes. I use two, one for the darker and one for the lighter shades. I'm blending colours with the applicators, and when you mix colours you'll need to make sure you have plenty of titanium white. As you can see, it's the one that you'll run out of most. Panpastels make your work go so much faster than if you were to use just pencils alone, as you can cover large areas fast. This bald eagle took me just 2.5 hours. I find it helps to squint when you put the Panpastel layers down, as it helps to not see or concentrate too much on details too early on. I'm using Carbothello pastel pencils, but you can use any brand of pastel pencils. And once I have my first layer of pans down, I can add some details over the top. And a white can help to bring out the texture in a bird's beak. Shield your hands if you're going to want to keep your background clean. Pastel matte doesn't erase very well at all, as it grabs hold of pigment. When I work on an eye, I often use black for the pupil. A little use of black can create great contrast. And I'm using sharp pencils, but not super sharp. You want good details, but it's a pastel pencil, not a coloured pencil, so over sharpening is going to break the lead, and Carbothellos are a fairly soft brand. And anyway, no one's going to be looking at your art that closely. I've done quite detailed drawings with less than sharp pencils, and the end result has been fine. The best way to work on an eye is with tons of layers. The pastel matte surface takes many layers, so you can work out any errors as you go, because it's really forgiving. I used 16 coloured pencils in this drawing, and I think I used most of them in the eye. I used lots of greys for the eyes as well as greens, and when I work on animals I always exaggerate the colours, either using an editing program or just by taking a risk, and with this particular set there aren't many greens, and so I've got used to using what I have and creating the colour I want by layering. If I don't like it, I can always knock it down with another colour on top. Just keep your pressure light and you'll be fine. Pastel pencils are super vibrant and it's easy to get brilliant colour, and that's one of the best qualities in pastel pencils. They are really luminous. This bald eagle study is one of my Patreon tutorials. Patreon is a commitment-free subscription from only $1 a week. In each tutorial, I show you how to create beautiful, detailed, colourful and realistic art in real time so that you can follow along. And my lessons will teach you how to create with graphite, charcoal, coloured pencil, pastel pencil, Panpastel, acrylic and airbrushing. Each tutorial is fully narrated, and I share my reference, line art and a full supply list. To get sneak previews of each tutorial to see my teaching style, hit the link in the description. The next part is to go back in with another layer of the pans to increase the contrast and blend everything together. Blending is much easier with the pans and the applicator, but you do need a lot of pigment for it to blend seamlessly, and most of us make the mistake of not applying enough pigment and wondering why the work is looking patchy. Then I can apply my last layer of pencils to add final details and bring out some texture in the face. Squinting again at my reference helps to avoid looking at too much detail and getting overwhelmed. Feathers can be quite challenging. What we mostly need is some contrast. See them as shapes, not trying to draw in every single feather. I'm adding a mix of black, greys and browns and using a layering technique, just grazing the surface of the paper. And you can see here that the feathers on the owl here have too much of a band or stripe, and so I'm going in with my titanium white pencil to break it up, just going backwards and forwards to soften everything and make sure there are no harsh stop and start lines. And I'm also changing direction. If you look closely, all feathers go in different directions. Some of them are shorter and some of them are longer, so adding some randomness will give the eagle a more realistic look. Feathers also come in clumps, so for instance under the eye there are tiny clumps before things start feathering out. Going up and under those areas with a darker value will give the appearance of them standing out with more dimension. It's easy to look at the reference and see nothing but greys and blacks, but just like in the eyes, there are a myriad of colours, so the more colours you add, the more realism you'll bring to the eagle. Use different browns and occasional ochres. I often use more vibrant colours than there really are, so don't be afraid to punch things up a bit. For the background, I thinned some acrylic paint with water and painted the outside with a larger brush, and then with a liner brush went to the very edges to ensure that there were no halos. It's not always appropriate to use black, but it can make your work really stand out, especially if there is a contrast against something much lighter. If you haven't already, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to stay alerted to new content. I'll see you next time, and thank you so much for watching.